Yesterday, if you remember, we covered till this part. The last topic that we discussed yesterday was bitwise operator. And just to give you a highlight or glimpse of the yesterday's point on bitwise operator, we covered AND operator, we covered OR operator, NOT operator, and XOR operator. So let's start in which particular scenario this bitwise operator is useful. So honestly, bitwise operator is not very much usable in real life scenario unless you are a student of digital electronics or you are having some projects on digital electronic side, because those are the people who mainly work with uh, uh, digital data, right? So when I say digital data, it means like zeros, ones, stream of zeros and ones. Okay. So just imagine a scenario, right? You are building a robot that can do certain activities. For time being, for the simplicity, let us assume that your robot can move forward, backward, leftward, and rightward. Okay. And right now, your bot is in very initial stage, so you have to give an explicit command, and after your command, the bot will respond. So if you give an instruction to turn right, it will turn right. It will give an instruction turn left, it will turn left. Okay. So just to go for physical implementation of this logic part, what you decided is like you created a sensor status, and that sensor status is nothing but it's a sequence of binary string, right? So zeros and ones. So right now you said that when the bot has nothing to do, you'll keep all this sequence, the sequence of your binary number as zero, right? So if everything is zero, your bot will not do anything. It will remain as it is. Now you say that if this particular, if the last sequence get high, so when I say high, it means one. When I say low, it is zero. So if this becomes high, let's say this is high now, that means your bot has to turn right. Okay. And if you want your bot to turn left, you will make your second last bit as high. So now if this is 1, your bot will turn left. Similarly, if you want your bot to move forward, you would set your third last bit as high, that is 1. So now your bot will move forward. And if you want your bot to move backward, you will keep your first bit as 1 or high. Okay. So how would we make these respective bits high as per the scenario? Okay. So this is a perfect case where we can use a bitwise AND operator, right? So let's say that you are having a controller, a remote controller, and whenever you are willing to turn your bot right, or let's say that you want to make your bot move forward, your bot or your controller will generate this sequence, right? So this is stored in variable mask, and this is the sequence again of zeros and ones, and you are making this uh, third last bit as high. Okay. So this is something which your controller is generating. Now what you would do is you would perform a bitwise AND operator between your sensor status and your mask status. Okay. So it will perform a bitwise AND operator. So ultimately what do you want? If you want your bot to move forward, you want basically this thing, right? 0 1 0 0. This is the case you want if you want to move your bot forward. And right now what you're having is you're having 0 0 0 and 0 1 0 0. So if you'll perform a bitwise AND operation between this, what you will get, this 0 and 0 is 0, right? Sorry, here you have to perform an OR operator, bitwise OR operator. Okay. So what bitwise OR operator says that if any of the bit is 1, then your result will be 1. Okay. So 0 or 0 is 0, then 0 or 0, again it is 0. Now 0 or 1, what it would be? Come on, you have to tell this. It will perform 0 or 1. What would be the answer?
1.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. And 0 or 0 is 0, right? So when you perform the OR operation between your this value and this value, you are getting this desired value, and this desired value will set your bot to move forward or backward, whatever functionality you have set with this. Correct? So you see how the concept that we have drawn from Python can be utilized in robotics also. And this is not only applicable to robotics. You can apply the same concept to some other domain where you are trying to operate some heavy machineries, and you want to define certain states for that, and based on that certain state your machinery will perform certain tasks, right? So you can use these kind of operators to come up with a very simple program that would do the job for you. Okay, now the next operator that we have to see is assignment operator. And this is the operator which we have already seen many times, right? We have assigned a constant to variables many times. So this is the operator I'm sure by now you are very much comfortable with, right? Now we are having another operator which is plus equal to, right? So let's say that I have a variable a and I'm assigning 10 into it. Okay. Now, if I want to add 5 into this, right, what I can do is I can do a is equals to a plus 5, right? And if I'll do a print a, it will give me the output of 15. This is a one way of doing it. Just give it a second. It is initializing the color and will give you the output. Yeah. So now you see the output is 15, right? So this is a one way of doing it. But if suppose you want to use assignment operator here, right, and you want to do it a bit more quickly, then instead of this, what you could have done, you could have done something like this.
A plus is equal to 5.
Yes. So you know this concept?
Yeah, I can recall those things when
Nice.
I learned.
Cool. So now what it is doing is, you have already value of a is equals to 10. Now it is adding 10 to the value of a, which is actually 10. So 10 plus 10 makes 20, and output you're getting a 20. Right. So the execution of this will be faster. That is the reason where we try to use this kind of operator wherever it is possible. This is called shorthand operator for addition and assignment. Okay. Instead of this, you could have done something like this, and this would have given you the output of 15, right? So in the one expression only, you are assigning. I mean, you are performing an addition and assigning at the same time. Similarly, you could have done something like this. This would have given a value of 5, right? You could have done something like this, which would have given an output of 50, right? So basically, whatever operation that we have seen when we read arithmetic operators, you can cascade those operator with assignment operator and do your job, and this will yield result more quickly. Okay. So this is the assignment operator. Is it clear? So basically, you can cascade any operator with your assignment operator and do your job. Okay. Now moving ahead, the next thing we are having here is a special operator. Okay. So what are these special operator? So basically, there are two operator in special operator. One is called identity operator, and in identity operator we are having further two kinds of operator, which is called is operator and is not operator. Okay. And these are basically used when we want to check if the two values are located in the same part of memory. Okay. So we have already seen this concept, right? Whenever we assign a variable, a memory block is allocated to store that particular value, and your variable is just pointing to the reference of that particular memory, right? So we want to, if we want to check if the two variables are located at the same part of memory, in that case we use this operator. Okay, two variables that are equal does not imply that they're identical. We'll see this meaning of line with example. So I'm having a variable x1, I'm assigning 5 to it. I'm having another variable y, I'm assigning 5 to it. X2, I'm assigning hello. Y2, I'm assigning hello. X3, this list. Y3, this list. Okay. And then I'm checking x1 is not y1, right? Is x1 equal to y1? What is your answer? Is x1 is equal to y1?
Yes.
Yeah, correct. But what we have written here is not. That means whatever you're thinking, you just have to negate it. So the
Okay.
output of this line, output of line is false, because as you mentioned, this x1 is equal to y1, right? Because they both are holding 5, right? But what we have written here, x1 is not y1. So this is false, because indeed these x1 and y1 are same. X1 is equal to y1. Getting? Is it clear?
Not so clear.
Okay, cool. Let me rephrase it. So you agree that x1 is equal to y1?
Yeah, as you mentioned, yes.
No, don't go with my words. Here it is clear, right?
Not
X1
the
is,
words, but the thing is x1 and y1 holds the same value.
yes, yes. So x1 is equal to y1. What we are saying here is x1 is not equal to y1. That is why this expression is giving me false.
Printing should also be, correct.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's the same thing.
No. See, if I'll do x1 is y1, right? What it should give me? True or false?
True.
Yeah, that's correct. It will give me a true. Now, the moment I write here not,
Okay.
right?
So it will give you false.
Yes. So what did I tell yesterday is wherever you'll
Okay.
write this not operator, it will negate the output. So initially the output was true. The moment you wrote not here, the output will get negated, and now you'll see the output as false. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now x2 is y2. Is this x2 equal to y2?
Yes.
Yes. That is the
True.
true. x3 is y3. x3 is y3. This is a bit
True.
tricky. Yes, it should have been true, but you'll see the answer as false. I'll tell you why this is false. See, whatever things that we have seen till now, and pay a little bit attention here, because this is a very tricky questions. You might see these questions in some of the written round of interviews, right? Because this list behaves somewhat differently compared to this one, right? Everything was intuitive when we were dealing with this string and numerical, but the moment we jumped into the list part, the logic just got reversed. So we're gonna see how or why this gave us false, not true, because we can see that x3 and y3, they are holding list which are having similar values. Okay, so what happens is here, what different thing happened in this case is, the moment you assign this list 1 2 3, right, to variable x3, you have created or you have allocated certain memory, right? And in that memory you're storing this particular list. Okay, and this x3 is holding the memory reference of that piece which is holding this list 1 2 3. Now same thing we did for y3 also. So again, a piece of memory in your CPU is allocated, okay, and you are holding this value 1 2 3 in that memory, and this y3 is nothing, it is uh, carrying the reference of it, that address of it. So you just tell me, here is the memory a reference which X3 holding and Y3 holding will be same?
No.
That, yeah, correct, exactly. And that is the reason this X3 is not equal to Y3. Although it is holding the similar thing, but as I mentioned, this is not holding this list. It is holding the reference of this list. And the reference for these two lists are different, right? And because of that, it says that this is X3 is not equal to Y3. And this you'll see for all the data types which are mutable. So I think we covered this topic in day before yesterday's class. Lists are mutable, whereas string and numerical literals, they are immutable, right? So that is the reason X3, if you type X3 is Y3, it will give us false, because the memory location which X3 and Y3 are holding are different. Is it clear? Not really.
It's clear.
Still, I'll give you a physical interpretation of this, I mean graphical interpretation of it. Okay. So the moment when you did X3 is equals to this. Okay. So what happened here is, so assume that this is your memory. Okay. This is your computer memory. So what happened was, the moment you did this, certain location in your memory was allocated to store this 1 to 3. Right. Okay. And the address of this memory is, let's say we are having 1 2 3 4. I'm just putting some random number. Let's say the address of this memory is this one. Let's say this is the address of this memory. Okay. And this address is stored in where? X3. So this X3 is storing this 1 2 3 4 2 3 4 2. Similarly, the moment you did Y3, okay, I think we can remove this one. Again, some space got allocated in your memory. So let's say that this time this part of your memory got allocated for this one, and we say that this particular block of memory is having address something different. Okay. And this is the value which your variable y3 is holding. Understood? Now I think it is more clear, right?
Yeah, it was clear. Yeah.
So this x3 and y3, they are not holding the same thing. That is why you got the output as false here. Okay. Cool. The next operator we are having is the membership operator. Okay. And this is mainly applicable when you are dealing with sequential data type. So example of sequential data type is list, tuple, dictionary, right? So we'll see what these mean. This membership operator can be further divided into two parts. One is in and the second is not in. Okay. So let's say that I have defined a list. Okay, I am defining a list and I'm putting some number into it. Let's say that I am putting this number. Okay, this some random numbers, and I want to check if this particular list is containing some specific number. Let's say I want to check whether 4 is present in this list or not. So what I'll do, I'll simply do 4 in list. Since 4 is present in this list, it will give me an output as true. If I do something like 10 is in list, which is not present in this list, it will give me an output of false, right? So it is used to check if this particular constant is a member of this particular list or not. That is why it is also called as membership operator, right? Because it is checking the membership of this particular number in this list, right? So we checked it for list. Similarly, you can use it for dictionary also. Here we are having a dictionary, right, where 1 is the key, 2 is the key, and A and B are the values. Okay, and we can check whether this H is present in this dictionary or not. Obviously, H is not present in this dictionary. In fact, 1 and 2 and 2 are present, so it will give an output of false. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm checking it in X, right? So in X, which is having this string, H is present, right? So it is giving me an output of true. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Similarly, if I want to check if hello is present in this list or not, list, or I should say string. So hello is present, right? But here it is giving me true. Actually, it should have given me false, because here it is not. Why it is so? Because here uh, H is capital letter, here H is small letter. That's why it did not match. Now we check in dictionary if 1 in Y, if 1 is present in this dictionary Y or not. Yes, it is present. That's why the output is true. If A is present in Y, so you must be thinking that here also it should come true, because A is there in this dictionary, but still it is giving me false. The reason is like it checks only for key part, right? Whereas this A is value part. So it will check only for 1 and 2. Since A is not present in the key position, it is giving me output as false. Clear?
Yep.
Okay, now let's move to today's agenda. This was the part from yesterday. So this is the agenda for today. Okay. So today we're gonna see Python namespace and scope. Okay. And in this, there are 3 parts we will be seeing today. One is the namespace, the second is a mapping between names to object, and the third is the scope of variable. Okay. So we told many times that whenever we are storing a list into a variable, we are not storing that list physically into that variable, rather we are storing a memory location of it, right? Now what if you want to get that memory location, right? So for that we are having an inbuilt function in Python, that is id. Okay, so if I have created a variable A and I've assigned 10 to it, I want to see in which particular address, this value 10 is getting stored. So I'll do id 10, and it will give me the address of this constant. Okay, so here you'll see that there are certain assignment we have done. Here A is equals to 2. We want to check what is in which particular memory address 2 is stored. We did id A, and that gave the address of 2. Now here this is a bit tricky. Here what we are doing is, here A is equals to A plus 1. So what this mean is, we had initially value of A as 2. We are adding plus 1 to it. So now my object became 3, right? So now we won't be having same memory address. That's why you see that if we'll do a second print of A, you'll see this memory address is different now. Okay. This part is clear?
Right.
Okay. So now let's see what is happening visually also. We are taking the reference of this particular case. First of all, we are having a variable a is equal to 2. So a is pointing to the address where 2 is stored. Okay. Then what we are doing is we are adding 1 to a. So initially we were having 2, right? Now we are adding 1. So now it has become another object. Right now it has become another object. Now a is pointing to this newly created object, which is 3. So that is the reason you see that the memory address now a is holding is different, because it has become an altogether different object. Okay. Okay. Now, now I would like to explain you one very interesting thing. We can look into the theory part, but I think that you can read it yourself also. I'll just explain what this theory is contained. And the best way to do this is, let's take a example. Okay. So today, I'll tell you how to create a function in Python and how do we assign variable to that function. Okay. So to create a function in Python, you need to start with a keyword called def. Okay. And then you need to define the name of your function. So let's say that I want to write a function that will square my input. So I'm giving the name of this function as square, and this function will take certain argument. Okay. So I'm giving that argument number num. Okay. And what it will do is like it will square that particular number. Okay. This is the way we will do square. This is exponentiation operator. We read this yesterday. Okay. And now if I want, I can use this my function which will square a number by passing the output. I mean by passing this argument. So let's say if you want to see the square of 10. Okay, it is giving me none because I should have done here return. Right. So this part is clear. How do we create a function in Python? We start with keyword def, which is the short form for definition, because this is the place where we are defining the function role. We assign a name to our functions, and we then declare what are the argument this function will take. So here we are seeing that this function will take only one argument, and that argument will be stored in the variable num. We perform square operations with that input or with that argument, and we return the result. Then we invoke this function by defining by writing its name, and we pass this argument. So the moment we do square inside bracket 10, that means what, this 10 is passed to this num variable, and then we perform the square operations over the value 10, and we return the result value, which is 100. This is clear? Is this clear?
Yes. Clear.
Okay. Now let's do a little bit complication on this. Okay. So what if my user don't know how to pass the argument to this? So here I'm passing this 10 as argument, right? So if my user don't know what to pass argument, right? So what we can do, we can do some default setting also here, right? So if I'll do num is equals to, let's say I'm doing here 5. Okay. So by default, if suppose user don't give any input to this function, then this function will take num is equal to 5 and it will do its job. Okay. So by default, we are saying that num is equals to 5. It will do a square operation of this 5 and it will give me the output 25. Right? Now one
Can you
more
explain the second line? Result is equal to num.
result
and-
is equals to what? Which one? Result equals to num?
Yeah, second
Okay.
line. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So here what we are saying is, if my user don't give any argument, then take argument as 5 and we are storing that into variable called num. Right? Now we are performing a square operation on this. How do we do a square a number? We use this double star symbol and 2. Right? So this is equivalent to writing this 5 square. And this output of a square operation is stored in another variable result, and the result I am again returning to the function call.
Okay, I got it. Exponential form is written like that, right?
Yes, exponential form is written like this.
Okay, thanks.
Now let's make this function even more complicated. Okay, so here along with sum, I mean along with square, what we want is we want to add certain number also to this. Okay, so I want my function to square my input argument and add it with certain constant. So what we do is we define some variable. Let's say that we defined a variable offset, and we stored a value 10 to this. Now what we want is we want to add 10 to my squared value. Okay, so now what would be my input, my return of this function? It should be 35, right? 5 square is 25 plus I'm adding offset, which is having the value of 10. So my output is 35. Is it clear?
Yep.
Now this is a question to you. If I want to print this value of offset in any part which is not a part of this function, if I want to print the value of this offset beyond this function, what would be my output? If I want to print this value of offset, what would be my output?
35?
Why 35? Because
No.
I have stored 10 into my variable offset.
Okay.
So if I print offset, what would be my output? One thing that you can think is it should print 10 because I have stored 10 to my variable offset, right?
Offset value, you have given 10, so it will square the number and then it will
No,
add
no,
10.
no. It is squaring my num variable.
Yeah, I know that. It's 25 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. In BODMAS also, it will take exponential first and then add. So you have assigned a value for offset. So it will add and give you 35.
Yeah.
So 5 square is 25 and plus 10 is 35.
Yes. But where that 35 value is getting stored, it is getting stored in result variable, right?
Yes, result.
Yeah. Yes. But by offset variable is still having value as 10.
Okay, but you added in the result.
Yeah, I added, but I'm not storing that result value into offset. I'm storing that result value into variable result, right?
Yeah, I know.
So offset value will still remain 10.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Is the result 35?
No, the result is that we can think of is 10. But one thing I want to understand, what is a logic for thinking offset is equals to 35?
I'm not saying offset is 35.
Mhm.
Offset is added to the square,
Yes,
which
correct.
that's what I said, and it is storing in the result.
Yes, correct. But if I print offset, if I want to print the value of offset, what would be my?
It will still give you 10.
Yes, it should give me a 10 that we, so that is our thinking. But let's see what Python has to say on this, right? The Python says that offset is not even defined. Python doesn't know any variable named as offset. So now we need to think why it is saying so, right? So there's a concept called scope of variable in Python, in any programming language. Okay. So since we have defined this variable offset within this function square,
Okay.
its present is only felt within this function only. The moment we have left this function, Python will say that I don't know offset. Since you have
Right.
defined this variable within this function, its existence is there within this function only. It will call this variable from anywhere beyond this function scope. It will say that I don't know this variable. Okay. Whereas you'll see, if I want to print this offset value within this function, it will print perfectly fine. Right. Just give me a second. Bro. Is it clear? Hello?
Yeah, it is clear.
Yeah. So see, if we try to print this offset value within this function, it will print perfectly fine. But the moment if we want to print this offset value beyond this function, it will give me an error. It will say that I don't know this variable offset. Right? So this entire concept is the scope of your variable. Now, what if I want my Python to recognize this variable in all the places? Right? If I want my Python to recognize this variable in all the places, what I need to do, I need to write a keyword in front of it, which is called global. Okay. So now if I do a print statement here, just a second. It should be like this. Offset is equals to 10. Right? Now if I'll do print offset, it will give me value 10. Because we have explicitly told Python that understand this variable, it is having the scope of global now, so it will recognize it at any place. Okay. I'll spin a bridge for 15 minutes to half an hour. If you have any question, doubt, you can join that bridge. And I'll share this PDF so that you can go through the theory part. But all this